There is Rangers news today, and the news out of New York is not so good, at least not for three people who picked the Yankees to win the series. It's great if you're a Dodgers fan. We've got the whole story, the baseball talk and the Rangers talk, coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Walker Buehler has earned a day off, and in fact, he may well get a lot of days off here very soon as he performed beautifully for the Los Angeles Dodgers last night, and the Dodgers beat the Yankees again to make it an almost insurmountable lead. It's 3-0 in a 7-game series. No team has come back in a World Series to win after being down 3-0. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here with Abby Jones, Jeff Wilson, J-Dub, Abs, and Rads. We've got the Prophet over there, and we've got lots to talk about over the course of the next hour. We appreciate you being here. We thought BC might be, big Dodgers fan as he is, and no doubt with reason to be very happy today. We'd love you to chat with us. We'd love you to like us, subscribe with us, to us, and also, how about some more super chats? And there's Jeff Kavanaugh, who lied and said he likes me, but that's okay, Jeff. I appreciate that, and I like you too. Man, I can't believe what we're seeing in this World Series.
Fellas, I want my flowers first. I was right about Walker Buehler.
Yeah, I thought about that because you mentioned his World Series history.
Yeah.
Going into this game, and 5 scoreless innings. He was really pretty good. The first couple innings, they were hitless, but he kind of, needed a little, it was like 36, 37 pitches. So you wondered if maybe it would catch up to him, but it didn't. And, it's crazy. He got 5 innings, and after the game, John Smoltz was like, "Oh, it's been all about this Dodgers starting pitching. Yeah, 5 innings. It's like, God dang it, this drives me crazy." But anyway, if that's what a good start is these days, then Walker Buehler delivered it after Yamamoto delivered it. So, and really, I thought the Yankees had the starting pitching edge coming into this one, and that has not been the case. So, hats off to the Dodgers. They're playing clean baseball. That lineup's just deep 1 through 9. And then if they're able to limit how much their bullpen has to work, they're in pretty good shape. And obviously they are. They're in unbelievable shape.
And that's the thing. I think all of us mentioned as we picked the Yankees just before the series started at the end of last week, we all mentioned it's starting pitching at this point, and the Yankees have better starting pitching. Again, who could have predicted that you would get the performance they got in Game 2 from Yamamoto? Really, even that, the Game 1 performance from Flaherty was fantastic for the Dodgers. And to your point, Abby, we probably all should have predicted what Walker Buehler did, because I think he's now at 18 innings of pitching in the World Series. He's allowed 1 run. Yeah, that's a .50 ERA in the World Series.
Unbeaten in his 3 World Series appearances. Yeah. But, we did give the starting edge to the Yankees in the starting pitching. And I don't know if it's Freaky Friday, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, Freddie Freeman's turned into Aaron Judge this postseason, World Series especially. Aaron Judge is completely off the map. We're going to get into all of those. But, 3 runs over 16 2/3 innings have been allowed by the Dodgers starting pitchers. And if you would have told me this is where we would be at this point in the World Series, I just honestly wouldn't have believed it.
No, I wouldn't have either. And, it harkens back to basically it was a year ago tomorrow, I think, was Game 3 of the series in the year ago. 1 year ago, tomorrow was Game 3, and you think about, and at that point it was completely different because the Rangers and the Diamondbacks were tied at 1 game apiece. But Game 3 became so important, and Max Scherzer started that game,
right,
and left that game with an injury after getting hit by a batted ball.
Yeah, yes, he got hit by a batted ball, but he came back from that, and then his back just tightened up on him, and that's ultimately what forced him out and put John Gray in the game, and John Gray delivered.
Got the win.
Just went out and dealt. That's why a lot of people think John Gray would be a great reliever, a great closer. Just he can go in and his stuff plays up when he doesn't have to worry about any conserving any energy. But you think back to that series, and of course Game 1, Game 2 was a blowout. I mean it was close. It was close until the 7th, and then pivotal game. Game 3 is always a pivotal game in any series, and for the Rangers to win that one, then what they did the next night on Halloween, just went out and boat raced the Diamondbacks, and but 3-1, Corey Seager with the home run, and really some, but it was a big game too because Adolis Garcia got hurt, in his last at bat, and so it was one of those kind of situations where. Maybe what the Dodgers were looking at after Game 2, like, oh God, our big guy is maybe going to be out now. Ohtani has posted and was okay. Adolis tried and couldn't go. So then, you go into Game 4 thinking, oh man, Travis Jankowski is going to have to replace the MVP of the ALCS, and he did such a great job. But Game 3 was a nail biter.
It was, and there was another similarity in that Adolis Garcia actually threw out a runner trying to score at home.
Yeah.
And that was obviously before he got hurt. But you had the similar situation last night, and I've seen some great memes about Giancarlo Stanton trying to run, trying to score. And I saw one where they had, it was like ancient Egypt, and they're trying to rock this huge head down the line.
And it's Stanton running.
And they're like, this is Stanton running. I mean,
hey, with all that muscle, something's got to give.
Right.
But no, I texted Beasley about it. Tony Beasley, the third base coach of the Texas Rangers, because I'm like, make this make sense. I don't understand why that was the call there. And there were some videos from Yankee Stadium when Stanton was rounding third. You could hear the cheers just go down, and everyone they were like, they gasped for their breath. But he said, I was surprised by the send being down, and Stanton doesn't run well. That's another thing that Beasley is very well aware of everyone's speed and considers that into the, decision. But he said sometimes third base coaches get caught up in the offensive struggles as well. So just didn't make sense. Wasn't a very smart play. But just to be honest, not much is going right for the Yankees in any facet. So this kind of seems on par for the World Series, at least. Yeah,
it's you look at this Yankees lineup, and is it as deep as the Dodgers? Probably not, but at the top, it's awful good, and Gleyber Torres has done a good job getting on base, but you get down the Juan Soto, fantastic. Judge, of course, we'll talk about his struggles here. And then Stanton's been a beast in the postseason. They haven't had the depth to carry it through, and I think they're missing Austin Wells. He's disappeared this postseason. Volpe, if you throw him sliders, he's in trouble. You can pick up, Jazz Chisholm hasn't probably been as good as they need, especially where they put him in the order. So, I can see trying to force the issue, there. Make the guy make a throw, and he did. But you probably sent the wrong guy, and you can't afford to be making outs on the bases if you're not scoring any runs. So, tough send, I guess, but I can understand it, and where they were in the order, they didn't feel good about the next matchup. I don't know, but it's a footnote, and you sometimes forget about these things, guys getting thrown out. Especially if it's early in the game, but, a mistake in the third inning ultimately can be what decides a game. I don't remember what inning that is, but just
fourth.
An error in the second, or a drop third strike, just something nuts, a 2-out walk, something like that, early in the game, it all adds up. These little things all add up. And maybe there is no such thing as a little thing, especially at a time like this.
Yeah, interestingly, both of those, guys being thrown out in consecutive years at home, they were pretty shallow hit balls, right? And it's not like they were bouncing around in the corner or anything.
Yeah.
Both of them were kind of relatively hit to relative, in the case of Adolis, obviously, right field. Last night it was into left field. These weren't blasts. I mean, it was going to be a challenge to score, even with a really fast runner, I think, in that case.
Well, and if it's 2 outs, you're running on anything. So, theoretically, the base runner is going to get a good jump.
Yeah.
And get there, but to run on Adolis Garcia is not smart.
No.
And Christian Walker, I believe, is the guy who was thrown out, and he's not known for his sprint speed. So it's just maybe trying to make things happen. Taking a chance, whatever it is. I don't know if that's the time to take the chance.
Yeah, that's what I can't really wrap my head around. It's like, this isn't that time to take the chance, because the risk and the reward, I mean, it's monstrumental,
Yeah.
And we said that yesterday was kind of not necessarily a make or break. Well, now it really is a make or
now
break.
It is.
I mean, they're down to one game. And just to put some numbers behind what Jeff mentioned about Stanton and Soto, they're the only guys producing. And, we talked before the series started about there's no breaks in the lineup. That's just not been the case this World Series. Stanton and Soto have combined for 7 for 23, 2 home runs. They've driven in 4 of the 7 runs, and the rest of the Yankees lineup has combined for 152 at the plate.
Oh, wow.
You just don't win a World Series like that.
No.
And especially to hear the names that are on this roster in the lineup. I mean, you almost can't fathom it. And it's been a letdown. I'm going to say it. Been
the series has been, and certainly the networks are let down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they probably still are getting big numbers, but especially at the beginning of the series, you're getting huge numbers with these two, monolithic communities and teams that have such a huge following. And the next thing you know, we've got a 3-0 lead. Now, of course, that all changes if somehow the Yankees can do what Aaron Boone said after the game and just one game and then one game, and then one. Right, if they can keep winning one at a time and get back into this, it'll go down as one of the great World Series in history. Right now, it's going to go down as a dud, right? A disappointment.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that nobody's come back from 3 down in a World Series. They don't get past Game 5.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they might win Game 4, but no World Series has gone to 6 games once a team has taken a 3-0 lead. Now, if anybody knows about it, it's Dave Roberts, who was part of the 04 Red Sox.
Yep.
And he was asked about it yesterday, and he's like, "I'm not going to talk about that."
Yeah.
He said he literally said it's too soon.
It's too soon. Yeah. And so he knows. So that would probably play in the Dodgers' favor if their manager is like, "Hey,
it's
this
possible.
It can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen.
This can happen."
I'm the reason it happened.
One of them for sure.
He could say that, and these guys would have to buy in. But you saw the interview after the game with Freddie Freeman, and Ken Rosal asked about his home runs and all that, and he's like, I can't think about that right now. We still haven't won the series, And Freddie Freeman's going to be the MVP, and there's no question about that. No matter how many games it goes. Now, if the Yankees win, then it'd be different, but Freddie Freeman will be the series MVP. But good for the Dodgers. Maybe we shouldn't coronate him. Is that the right word? Coronation.
Yeah.
Coronate. Is coronate a verb? I guess.
I think it is.
Don't ask me.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's either going to be tonight or tomorrow.
Because of the 24 teams that have been in this position, 21 of them end in sweeps. 3 of them go to a Game 5.
That's it.
I mean, backs are literally against the wall.
Yeah.
And it was really funny how everyone won in LA when the World Series was there. Everyone in New York lost last night.
Did they?
It is like bad juju.
Wow.
I mean,
The Giants lost.
MLB, MLS, NBA, NFL, all on the same day.
It's amazing. It's an amazing series thus far in that it is so lopsided.
Horrible.
Two of the best teams in
if you're
baseball
a Dodgers
all
fan,
season
this
long.
is like,
oh yeah,
I can't even imagine.
You're giddy.
DC, I mean, I can't even imagine you are probably floating on your way to the pearly gates. Like, it's got to be good, but just for the sake of baseball, I mean, especially when it's so hyped with the 2 probable MVPs, they've combined 2 for 23.
Yeah.
15 strikeouts.
Yeah, but Ohtani did reach base twice.
Yes.
He scored ahead of Freeman's home run in the first with a leadoff walk and got hit by a pitch. So,
I'm not saying he's not doing anything.
Presence. He still has the presence.
Sure.
Especially if you don't know how healthy he is. He didn't have to even swing in the first at bat.
No.
Yeah.
Make him swing.
Yeah. I know.
Let's see how that shoulder's doing, guys. And then they didn't do it. Ron Washington used to say, to get Josh Hamilton in the lineup, he'd be like, Josh, you don't have to be 100%. Just your presence alone changes things.
Yeah.
And that's clearly the case with Ohtani, probably times 10. And anyway, we'll see what happens tonight.
I mean, that's what his teammates said. Even him just in the batter's box alone, that's a threat.
Yeah, for sure.
Healthy or not.
For sure.
It is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Did you guys also hear the thing about him being like a competitive swimmer when he was a kid?
No.
Apparently, he could have gone to the Olympics as a swimmer. So he's
built that way.
He's
got the
literally
big broad shoulders.
he's a unicorn.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm like, what can you not do?
Not surprising.
It's not, but like, holy cow, dude, be bad at something.
I think if that guy'd been born here, though, he'd have been like Stanton and like Judge, right? He'd have been the star of the
Football
football,
team.
baseball, basketball, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just with that body type and that size and that athletic ability, and may not have had time to swim. But we'll never know. So there's so much more coming up. We got more to talk about regarding this game. We got to get you ready for Game 4 tonight. And we've also got news on the Rangers front. Could they be losing one of their assistant coaches? That's coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first, we tell you about Rōback. What great shirts these are. It's the best polos in the game. We encourage you to make sure you avail yourself to all things Rōback. Their hats are great. Their polos are great. The great thing about their polos, you don't get the collars that look all funky. Their collar maintains its shape and is great looking. They never, ever lose their shape. And look, they've got all the bases covered, solids, stripes, and lots of fun prints as well. They, of course, have that wicking material. Here in a minute, maybe we finally won't need it, but I think it's supposed to be in the high 80s again today, so you start to sweat a little bit. The sweat gets wicked away from your body by this wonderful technology that's available in Rōback. Jeff's got a Rōback hat. You should get a Rōback anything you can get. All you have to do is insert the code DLLS Rangers, and you will save 20% on your first order from Rōback. That's DLLS Rangers.
And you might not need them today because it might rain for the first time in a while. But when the sunshine does come out, you need Shady Rays. Shady Rays just has a plethora of options. They've got functional. They've got fashionable. I think I went the fashionable route. I went the 12-year-old little boy, like Little League, like visor kind of sunglasses. But I'm a huge fan of them. They're built to last. They're very durable. And our friends at Shady Rays have a 35% off discount code,
fantastic.
DLLS, 35% off. They're already pretty affordable. Give the gift of giving. Buy yourself some, buy your friends some, and check them out because they are really cool and great quality. You will not regret your purchase. But hey, if you do, they have a money-back guarantee option, so head over to Shady Rays today.
Do that. You'll be glad you did. Now, let's talk Will Venable first. And we'll get back to more about this game and get back to getting you ready for Game 4. But Will Venable, we reported last week, even after Donnie Ecker had pretty much been out of the running for the White Sox managerial job, that Will Venable was still among the candidates listed. And I guess, Jeff, officially, Venable still is, even though more and more names continue to drop off.
Yeah, it's like a process of elimination at this point. Guys who are no longer candidates for the White Sox job, and they cast a pretty large net to find the guy, and Will's still among them. And now he's also with the Marlins. He's interviewing there for that job. Two jobs. He's a candidate for both. Maybe he's trying to leverage them. I don't know, leverage one off the other, force somebody else's hands. But I still kind of think that there might be some World Series assistant coaches who are going to be candidates, and will that'll develop here after the series. But he's in an interesting spot because he's been interviewed many times before, and then everybody thinks that he's Bruce Bochy's replacement. Now, if that's the case, then maybe he's had a private conversation with Chris Young and Bruce Bochy, but don't know how long Bruce Bochy's going to manage. I know this is the last year of his contract, but he certainly isn't talking like a guy who wants to retire anytime soon. And then, how many times can Will interview and turn down these jobs before they're just like, all right, we're just not going to interview him?
Yeah.
He's going to have a reputation of a guy who's like interviewing but doesn't take the job. These aren't great jobs. Let's be perfectly honest. The White Sox just lost the most games in Major League history in a season, and the Marlins are just dysfunctional. So, I don't think anybody can blame him if he turned it down.
Right.
But what's he waiting for? Is he waiting for Dave Roberts to
Right.
resign, or Aaron Boone to get fired, or something like that? I just don't know. It's a tricky spot he's in, because he's got a good here, and if he is indeed the heir apparent or manager in waiting, well, great. He should stick it out, and when the time comes, boom, you don't even have to interview anybody. You just say, all right, Will Venable is our manager. But it is interesting that he's out there, that he's interviewing for two jobs. Maybe he has the itch, or maybe he thinks now's his time. He's had 2 years under Bruce Bochy, one of the best ever, and maybe he's learned a little bit more. But also, I'd imagine he likes to win,
Sure.
And he ain't winning in
Either one of those. Yeah.
Either one of these spots. The Marlins had their pitching injury, so maybe they're a little closer, but I don't know. So anyway, great guy. Wish the best for him. He people I think forget that he played for the Rangers a little bit in 2015.
Yeah.
As an extra outfielder. So I would like to see him go on and do great things because he's just a good dude.
I guess though, if he was going to sit and wait, like why even accept the interview process to begin with? I mean, there's experience and just going through the process, maybe one thing. But also, I mean, the biggest jobs aren't just handed out,
Correct.
Like you've got to work your way up. So,
well, and then the biggest jobs, are they going to give it to a guy who's never been a manager?
that's what I'm
Right.
saying. If you want to go coach or be the manager of the Dodgers,
Right.
you're going to need a long list before. I
Sure.
don't think they're going to let that happen to a first-year manager. So
Yeah.
it's like, you've got to do those baby steps and go to the Marlins, go to the White Sox, and handle that
stepping
first.
stone jobs, I guess. But
Right.
But then if you look at Chris Woodward, everybody's like, hey, Chris Woodward's this hot young guy. He's going to get a shot. Somebody's going to hire him to be a manager one day. Well, all right, the Rangers hired him. They were okay in 19. They were under 500, and then they decided to rebuild. And so, I mean, his winning percentage has got to be like three something. Who's going to hire a guy with a winning percentage of 300 or 400? Nobody. So I don't know that he's going to get another opportunity. So there's danger when you take these jobs. But again, it's only one of 30. There's only 30 of these things, and it's pretty hard to turn them down. So we'll see what happens. But I am again, I won't be surprised either way. I think if he stays, it kind of maybe sheds some light on what Bruce Bochy's plans are.
Yes.
And if he goes, it sheds some light on what Bruce Bochy's plans are.
Sure.
So-
Because there's no doubt about this. We know that. We know what we know about Boch as far as his plans and just what we hear. Inside, Will Venables knows more than we do about what Boch is thinking, right?
Sure.
This is not going to be a huge secret to him. We feel like, just from our conversations, for example, there was no doubt at any point this year that Boch was coming back next year. Now, we were speculating, well, what if they don't sign CY? And I suppose that could have changed things, but there was never any doubt that he was going to retire. Yeah, a year left on the contract, all that. But anyway, these guys are inside. They know that if Boch is thinking, well, I'm probably going to do at least one more contract, that may be Will Venable's motivation right now.
Yeah. Well, Bruce Bochy wants to win,
Yeah.
and he'd go out on top type of thing, or at least with a playoff team, give it one last go. So I don't think he wants to just be two and done. He had some success, obviously. It's not going to end like when Tony La Russa came back and was run out of Chicago. Bruce Bochy is he's got the pieces. I mean, he's got a good team, and we'll see how the roster gets supplemented. But his intention is to win. He doesn't want to have another crap season. Yeah, and he doesn't want to go out with a losing season either.
I think he wants to see if his pattern,
right? If the mojo continues.
Yeah, I mean, heck, if you've done it, 4 times?
Yeah, 3. I mean,
3 with the pattern.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine, I would consider that as it is a pattern, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, no, they definitely have the pieces for it. It's all about health at this point. A good, long, full off season is exactly what this team needs. But I do just think that at this point in the World Series, it just reiterates the point of how long a baseball season is and the wear and tear that it takes.
No doubt about it. It's interesting when you think about the division of labor, for lack of a better word, Jeff, on the coaching staff, right? Because Donnie Ecker is also he's offensive coordinator, but basically, bench coach.
Yeah.
But then Will Venables is a bench coach, and so you wonder at what the decisions are that are being made by each of them in that role.
Sure, and okay, so what does a bench coach do? Well, he does more than fill in when Bruce Bochy gets ejected. They, generally speaking, the bench coach is in charge of planning spring training, setting that up, but it seems like the traditional bench coach duties are being shared among a couple coaches. When you see Bobby Wilson have some extra duties, Donnie Ecker obviously is heavy on the hitting side, and if all right, so Tim Hires has left for the Braves. You'd expect that they would hire a replacement because Donnie has these other assignments. But what if they just say, what, Donnie, let's get this offense straightened out, and you focus just on that. We'll promote Seth Connor to hitting coach, but we won't hire a third hitting coach. Now, it's I think there are some definite. I know some shuffling going on with the coaching staff. I think that news will come out this week, but I don't. You're right. It's just like, Tony Beasley's the third base coach, but he coaches infielders, and Corey Ragsdale's the first base coach, but he coaches like base running and then the infielders too, and Will Venable, associate manager technically, but he's the guy who takes over when Bochy gets tossed, and he also coaches outfielders. So,
right.
These guys, I think Mike Maddox is the only guy that only has one job.
Yeah.
And it's a big job.
He's pretty good at that job, too.
Yeah, it does it very well. No doubt about that. So, yeah, it's interesting. We, as Jeff mentioned, we hear that there will be some news about Rangers assistant coaches later in the week, and we assume that will come even if the World Series continues. Although baseball doesn't love when you make big announcements during the World Series.
Yeah, well, maybe if they do it on the travel day, and it's not like this won't be earth shattering.
Yeah, this won't be that
so.
Big.
I think it's like the Angels recently cleared up their 40-man roster a little bit, cleaned it up. So you're still allowed to do that. And, some guys have signed minor league contracts, which you can still do. So it's not anything that's going to take the attention away from the World Series.
But there is a chance, and we'll talk about this next, there is a chance that all the Rangers free agents who will be free agents could be free agents as early as this evening.
Yeah.
So, we'll talk about that as we continue. And we'll also get to some of the most monumental home runs in playoff history. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
All right, guys. Now, Abby, you may want to do earmuffs here. It's time to talk about hard-ons. All right. We're talking about Blue Chew. They're going to help anybody who's struggling to get there. Basically, you've heard about making a first impression, but what about making a last impression? Blue Chew It will help you boost your confidence in the bedroom so that when the time comes, you can make the magic happen. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same ingredients as Viagra and Cialis and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost, and it's chewable. It's simple, and this is the big one. You sign up at BlueChew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical professionals, and once you're approved, you get your prescription within days. That means you don't have to go to your doctor, talk to the receptionist, talk to the nurse, and then talk to the doctor, and then check out and talk to the nurse, and then go talk to the pharmacist. And it's a private thing. It's very sensitive and discreet. And this is a discreet matter, even though I've kind of made light of it at the behest of Blue Chew. It's something you want to be able to talk about. And anyway, made in the USA. It's going to help you. It's going to help your partner. Everything's going to be good. So, and we've got a special deal for you. Blue Chew, try it for free when you use the promo code ALLCITY at checkout. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast.
Your turn.
My
Earmuffs
turn.
off.
Is it me? Rugged Road?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My turn. We have a great cooler here. Sorry, guys, spaced out a little bit. We have a great cooler here. It is innovative. It is durable. It can tackle all of the conditions. Go to Rugged Road and get your DLLS 10% off. Rugged Road to get that cooler. It's one of the best in the game.
No doubt about it. It floats. It's light. It keeps your stuff really cold.
You can probably keep your Blue Chew in it.
You probably could do that, too, if you really needed to. But anyway, we love Rugged Road, and we thank them for sponsoring this podcast, too. All right, so you could have a bunch of free agents available, like across baseball, not just Ranger free agents tonight, Jeff, if the World Series ends. It's immediate, right? It's as soon as the last out is recorded?
Right. You're right. They're... It is. Yes, they become free agents. Technically.
Yeah.
And that has a lot of different ramifications. Yes, they become free agents, which means that they're no longer on your 40-man roster. And then they have until 5 p.m. Eastern time, 5 days after the conclusion of the World Series, to start negotiating with all teams. It's a 5-day window for teams to negotiate exclusively with their free agents. Not a lot happens typically with that. But then also within these 5 days, guys who have player options have to decide. So Nathan Eovaldi will have to decide within 5 days whether he wants to be a free agent, which I'm guessing he does. There's a mutual option between the club and David Robertson, so they got to sort that out. And then anybody that has a club option, like Andrew Chafin, the Rangers have to decide if they want to exercise that option within 5 days or give him a buyout, whatever the buyout is. So a lot happens here, and the Rangers this year, I don't think have anybody that they'd extend the qualifying offer to. However, that has to happen within 5 days. So the trades can begin now, or once the World Series concludes, as teams can start making trades. It's a busy 5 days. I wish that MLB would condense its off season like the NBA and the NHL do. And I guess the NFL, I don't know. But anyway, these off seasons, once you get this first week out of the way, then it just is a long, slow march. A lot's not going to happen next week. The GM meetings are taking place the 5th through the 7th in San Antonio. That's kind of where traditionally the conversations start, or maybe technically on paper start. Who knows what's happening behind the scenes? But a lot's going to happen as soon as this World Series ends, and then a lot won't happen because it takes forever to get these guys to sign contracts.
Well, and lately, free agency has been really slow in developing.
Yeah.
Probably really ever since COVID, I think. You're just not seeing much develop. An Ohtani or something like that, it goes, it goes fairly fast. But and was it last year or 2 years ago we had Judge going too?
Right.
But for the most part, there's guys. I mean, Jordan Montgomery last year.
Yeah.
World Series hero, and basically got no interest through the offseason.
Yeah. Well, so COVID happens. Okay, the 20 offseason, there wasn't a winter meeting, so that was a little different, but some stuff still got done. Then 21 was the lockout. After 21 was the lockout.
That's
so
right.
The Rangers on the first, the day of the lockout, they got all those. They got Simeon, they got Seager, John Gray, and then a redheaded outfielder, Cole
Fantastic
Calhoun.
day.
You know, they wrapped all those up on that day before the lockout started, and then free agency went pretty fast at spring training because spring training was underway. So all these deals happened rather quickly then. But then, yeah, that offseason was kind of a slow march, although the Rangers acted pretty fast on DeGrom. And then last year, was just screwy. You know, you had Ohtani as a free agent for the first time. Then you had Yamamoto. Everybody thought that's what was holding it up. But I think, it just took forever for these things to decide. I think I don't know if they jarred the system that much. Those two signings, I thought at least in Ohtani's case was just a unique thing. How could that affect everybody else? Yamamoto getting 12 years, having never pitched in the major leagues, was a big deal, and maybe that caught the attention of agents, be like, hey, there's some big money out there, but then it never materialized. And like you said, I mean, the Blake Snell, the reigning Cy Young winner, didn't sign until after the spring training, basically. Right. And our pal Jordan Montgomery, same situation. The Boris Four, if you will, were held out that long. The Rangers didn't sign Michael Lorenzen until the day before camp broke. So hopefully it's not like that. It's not fair to the player. It really isn't, and it's not collusion. I'm sure their own. Well, I'm not sure. I don't put anything past these owners, but I doubt that. Seriously, doubt that they're texting each other saying, "Oh no, let's wait." Wait.
They got caught doing that in the '80s. I don't.
Right.
And they got fined big. I don't think they want to do that again.
But hopefully, hopefully this offseason has a little more pace to it. I think teams who invested heavily in those guys that didn't arrive until late into camp paid the penalty for it too. The players got the shaft on the back end, or not, but the teams suffered. I mean, the Diamondbacks, that signing hurt them.
Yeah.
The Jordan Montgomery signing hurt them. The Giants weren't able to do what they wanted to do, even though Blake Snell turned into a really good pitcher in the second half, but he struggled right out of the gate. And I don't know that Cody Bellinger ever had the season that he thought he had. And it worked out for Chapman, the third baseman who signed an extension with the Giants already. But man, I think it's just good for everybody involved to not have that repeat again. And the offseason had been getting longer and longer, like Will Smith.
Yes.
He didn't sign until after camp started in 23. Same thing with Robbie Grossman. But those are minor parts. Yes, they were major league deals, but these are, when you're trying to commit $25 million a year to players, you want them to be part of your team. And I think that's something that will help the players in the end, because it'll help the teams in the end too.
So say that the World Series ends today. Okay. What do you think is a realistic timeline of Nathan Eovaldi?
Well, he has to do it within 5 days. So he could do it tomorrow. I mean, he could do it, if it ends tonight, he could do it tomorrow. I mean, it seems like the decision is pretty much a foregone
conclusion. And when we
conclusion.
say do it, that means basically to declare
decline. He's going to decline his player option and accept free agency. Yeah. So, there'll be an email that comes out tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever the series ends. It'll be the night of the final out or the next morning. Here are all the players Major League Baseball sends out who are free agents. And then there'll be one that comes out as these guys accept or make their decisions and options and all that are made. The list will get refreshed. And then next it would be, I got to do the math here, some point early next week.
Yeah.
When the bonanza would begin.
Yeah. And that's
get ready for an emergency pod.
Well, yeah, we may have one, although,
Maybe our first.
We would hate to see, I say this, I know this. The Rangers would like to get Nathan Eovaldi done, and they'd like to get him done quickly. Yeah. Right? I've heard that, and you have too, Jeff, and I'm sure you have abs from sources within the Rangers organization say, yes, Eovaldi's a priority, and it's something we want to do quickly. Now, can they, right? I mean, because I think, Jeff, they have to blow him away to get it done quickly.
Well,
right? Because otherwise he wants to wait and see what else is out there.
He does need to see what's out there.
Point.
But so you're Nathan Eovaldi, you're 35, I think, going on 36. You've been injured each of the last, 5 years. Nothing terrible, but at what point do you want
34.
to? Huh?
He's 34.
34 going on 35. You've talked about your family's close. You love it here. You think this team can win. The Rangers need to they need to be honest with him, though. They need to, he's going to insist that they're honest with him. Are we going to have the finances to supplement the roster and make this a World Series capable roster? A lot of it's already in place. He saw DeGrom, he saw Rocker last year coming back and looking like they're going to contribute, be major contributors. He wants to be a part of that. He told me that absolutely what they're doing will entice him to come back. Great. Okay. But still, does he feel he knows that the Rangers didn't score runs? And are they going to score enough runs to be a threat in 2025? He wants to know this because this is his last chance at a multi-year deal, basically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And let's say he gets if the Rangers offered him $3 and $70, I think he would take it. So that's $23 million a year. Yeah, I think he would take that. But is there a team out there that's willing to give him $4 and $100? And so that's what is going to get tricky.
And that's what could slow it down. Right,
and
because that team might not come out immediately. If the Rangers are good to go with $3 and $70, we feel like, based on everything we've heard, $3 and $70 is going to be an offer that's made fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But does Nathan and probably more importantly, Jeff, his agent, do they want to take that quickly, or do they want to say, well, hang on, there might be someone who's willing to give us $4? He's 34. I mean, 38, you're still pitching, right?
Yeah, 38's kind of the age that that teams shy away from. That's where you start to wonder, do we want to go beyond 38? And so Eovaldi, I think that the Rangers agreed with him, honestly. I think it didn't get announced till after Christmas last time, but apparently the agreement was in place on Christmas Eve. They kind of agreed.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I'm sure Mrs. Young really appreciated that, but her husband negotiating on Christmas Eve, but that's just the way baseball go. And I think it.
Thank you, Wash.
I think they announced it. I think they announced it the 28th of December. I was in Phoenix covering the Fiesta Bowl. But anyway, so he won't drag it out. Mm-hmm. He won't drag it out. He'll get it done. He won't be like Jordan Montgomery. He's going to get his deal done. And if the Rangers are going to keep their powder dry for him, that might affect, maybe they miss out on another deal. I don't know. But I'm sure that whatever money they have, and hopefully we get some more light to shed on that this week, I think they still will have the money to re-sign him. And I think that Chris Young will bang the drum very, very loudly, and Bruce Bochy, to ensure that, yes, that deal gets done.
Yeah, and look, if they're trying to keep under that $241 million threshold, which is under the where you start getting penalized for being over the salary cap, there may not be a lot left to do much other than Eovaldi, free agent wise, though.
Well, that's going to be a big one, and let's say their budget's $225. You take the $60 million off from last year, which was they were around $240 something. So that knocks it down to $185. So if you're playing with $40 million, that's going to take up half of it at least.
Yeah.
So you hope that gives you some wiggle room, some trades. There's a way to create money. You could trade John Gray. You could not sign a closer and say, John Gray, you're a closer, because the only point at which keeping John Gray as a reliever at $14 million a year makes sense is if he's your closer.
Yeah.
And so just, there are a lot of ways to do this. It's just up to Chris Young, and I'm sure the easiest way would be a bunch of blank checks, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case.
No, and we just had the question from Ben, which we'll answer coming up next. He was wondering if there's any way to have Eovaldi and, as Ben put it, the Japanese DeGrom. We will answer that question because it is possible, and we'll tell you how. Coming up next, we'll also take a look at some of the most iconic home runs in postseason history. We'll do our batting cleanup segment as the Rangers DLLS podcast continues. But first, how about this merch?
I know, I was going to say.
Look at this.
Hey.
I'm wearing it's the Die Hard one. Look at that. Where can I
Solid.
I'm so bad at. Look at that. There we go. You get a look at that. That is a good looking shirt.
You want me to narrate it for you?
It's
John Radigan is wearing the blue Die Hard edition of the Texas Rangers DLLS
I'm walking down
merch.
the runway with my shirt on. It's fantastic.
It's a good color on you.
I love this color, and I like the material. It's just a fantastic shirt. Store.allcitynetwork.com. They have this and so many other choices. One of the things I like best about this one is it makes my guns look big.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Almost as big as the Dulles
Get your
Garcias.
tickets to the gun show.
Yeah. Got a little gun show working over here.
Almost
but no,
as big
and
as
you
the
know,
Dulles
this is fantastic. And it says right here what we want you to become, and that's a diehard.
A diehard. Because Stars are in Finland.
Yeah.
What a great trip. They're not on it this year just because we're kind of new.
Yep.
We need to work our way up there.
Yep.
But in the future, we will have events that you can go to. And 20%
we
off.
know that the Chicago folks, our brethren in Chicago, took a group to
went
London,
to London.
right? Yeah. So
London, we're hoping to go to spring training. Really want to get that out there for you guys. But there's so many benefits with becoming a diehard. You get a Discord lounge. You get a community. Great coverage with the Cowboys, the Mavericks, the Rangers, the Stars, TCU, our very own J-Dub. We haven't
That's
talked to
right.
J-Dub in a while. Our very own J-Dub will host a weekly show tomorrow. Is when All Horned Frogs. WNBA content is coming and so much more. So become our best friend today.
And one quick disclaimer. All City Network does not guarantee that these shirts will allow your guns to be bigger, sometimes called your biceps. And they certainly say that John Radigan's guns are no bigger than they ever were. AllCityNetwork.com.
That's perfect.
Wow, I never even heard that disclaimer.
That's pretty
I know,
good,
you
John.
You
rattled
believe
it
that?
off the top of your head.
How about that? Right off the top, they got after me. All right, so let's answer Ben's question. Can the Rangers have the Japanese DeGrom, who is Rōki Sasaki? He's been called, a guy who's, got Jacob DeGrom type stuff, and Eovaldi. And the short answer is yes, they can, because they can get Sasaki, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, basically for the league minimum, right? I mean, there's some other things involved to get him, to acquire him, as far as the posting fees and all that. But the pay that they would pay him would be minimal by baseball standards.
Yeah, if you're he's not eligible for free agency. He would fall into under the international signing rules, in which case he can sign for whatever you negotiate out of your international pool. The key on that is, of course, what are you going to pay him on the back end, and that's probably discussed during the whole process. But yeah, his first year, just to make it look good, you're going to be paying him the league minimum, because you don't want to sign him and then come out and announce, hey, we've signed this guy for a 20-year, $2 billion deal.
Right.
You need to at least make it look legit. So, but yeah, it is entirely possible that the Rangers could sign Rōki Sasaki without it affecting their ability to sign Nathan Eovaldi.
That would be Christmas morning.
Well,
Times a
can you
million.
imagine DeGrom, Eovaldi, Sasaki,
And a baby DeGrom, apparently.
and then a baby DeGrom, and then
Rocker.
you've still got Rocker.
I mean, Rocker's game is really similar.
Yeah,
And Mark Leiter's cousin, who's pitching in the World Series right now, Jack.
Yeah. So anyway, it could be. I mean, that would be an unbelievable pitching rotation if it were to come to pass. There's a lot that has to go on, because any team can essentially do the same thing. It's a matter of which team Sasaki decides he wants to go to. Will he want to be a part of something in Los Angeles? Where in the Dodgers organization in particular, where obviously he's got a couple of well-known countrymen in Yamamoto and in Shohei. So, do you want to go there and have a certain amount of comfort level, or do you want to go blaze your own trail, or which direction do you want to go as you're making this decision? And by the way, you're a pretty young man making this decision.
Yeah, I think that kind of, I've heard two things, that he may not want to sign with the Dodgers and be your own guy, but I think the industry is like, well, it's the Dodgers to lose if he's to get posted, because they can, they just figure out a way to do it. And the Dodgers are just wildly popular right now in Japan for obvious reasons. Their viewership for Game 2 of the World Series was higher than the U.S. viewership by a
Great
million.
fan base.
And it's I don't know. I mean, you just hope you can get into the room with him, sell your organization, make him a deal that'll blow his doors off. Tell him why. I don't know if you want to compete against the Dodgers, and in your interview say, well, here's why we're not the Dodgers, or here's why you'll like us better than the Dodgers. Just make your best case and go from there. But getting into the room is a big deal. I think that Chris Young being in the room, a former major league pitcher, with a guy who wants to be in the major leagues and can speak the language, will make a lot more sense than a bunch of Ivy Leaguers trying to tell him what's going to happen. Now, of course, I'm sure that Ohtani would be part of any proposal the Dodgers have to Sasaki. Excuse me. But just get in the room and see what happens. Because, I don't think anybody expected the Angels to sign Ohtani, to be honest.
No.
And so see what happens.
Yeah, and there's so much that factors into the personality of the young man. And I don't know, maybe you've done a little more research on this than I have, Jeff, but if he's from a really small community, right?
Yes.
He may not be as comfortable in Los Angeles. I mean, obviously Shohei has been only in Los Angeles as far as a home in the United States. He was down in Orange County with the Angels and now up, in Chavez Ravine and all that. So he probably hasn't even had to move from the LA area as far as that in-season home goes. This young man may be from a small town and would find a Texas or, a smaller community a little bit more appealing. Not that we're that small, but we're a lot smaller than Los Angeles.
He is from a small town.
Okay.
And in Japan, he's it's a chore to get out to see him. So the Rangers saw him at his home when he was in high school, and it was a 3-hour drive from Tokyo, I believe it was. So you bring up a good point. How's the guy gonna? Is he ready for the stardom now? I mean, he's the biggest thing in Japan right now. Mm-hmm. But are they playing in front of giant crowds? I'd imagine the media, the reporter pool is pretty deep when he pitches, because there are a lot of newspapers and outlets in Tokyo and throughout the country. But is Chiba City a big town? He plays for the Chiba Marines, as they're called. It's probably, it's not in Tokyo. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a suburb of Tokyo, but it's not Tokyo proper. So that's a pretty interesting point you bring up. And it might work out like that. I mean, maybe he'd like it in Fort Worth. Nice little relaxing spot in Fort Worth.
A little more laid back. Yeah.
I also think it could be appealing to not be on the Dodgers because I just think you don't want the comparison of
Agreed.
People. Ohtani. I'm just going to put it that way.
Yeah.
Again, I've said it once. If he's being called Baby Jacob deGrom, it would make a lot of sense for me to go where Jacob deGrom is.
Sure.
If I'm being compared to the best pitcher in baseball, heck, let me go directly to the source and be a literal sponge and learn what I can. Now, I don't know if he likes the comparison or not. I wouldn't mind it, I imagine. But I think, if that's your true comparison, that's really why I think it would make so much sense to even consider him here.
Well, and one thing that I've always heard, and I don't know if I talked about it on the show or not yet, but in Japan, they really believe in meritocracy and seniority. And so, like, if you're a veteran player and, there's a rookie in the clubhouse, like, you tell them to do anything.
Yeah.
And they have to do it. It's like, hey, go clean my socks. They don't have a clubby do it.
It's like hazing.
It's kind of like hazing. And so there was some thought that Yamamoto would stay away from the Dodgers because maybe Ohtani would do that to him. Now, I don't know that he has or anything like that, but it's another factor. Just all these things that are out there that are nuts. But, the teams have presence in Japan. The Rangers have a great presence. That could be a factor too. Maybe Sasaki really likes Joe Furukawa, the Rangers director over there, and I just really think that Chris Young's gonna if the Rangers get in the room, would be a driving force in getting it done. Just his ability to speak the language, and just kind of, hey, I'll be there to navigate you through this. We'll we understand the difficulties that Japanese pitchers can have with whatever, the ball, the travel, the condensed pitching schedule. We can make this happen for you, and you'll really enjoy it. And there's direct flights from DFW. There are all kinds of things that you can say.
Yeah, well, and read the tea leaves. Chris Young went to Japan in the final couple weeks of the season. It's a very busy time for general managers, right?
Yeah.
And CY went over there, and it feels like with a purpose, right? Like this wasn't just let me go check in on him.
Yeah, he's been very intentional.
Yeah, I think there was a reason.
Efforts.
There was timing. Some of those things certainly wouldn't have been stated, but there was a reason that he went at the time that he did. And I believe, to your point, Jeff, that the Rangers have proven over the years that they're very good
Consistency
at
is key.
the relationships, right? This isn't just about talent, and this isn't just about money, obviously, although that's a big part of it. This is about relationships that you have. These young men are coming to a completely different country and an unbelievably different culture, and so you have to trust the people that you will be working with and for. And if Joe Furukawa and Chris Young have begun to build that trust in this young man, not only, it's like recruiting, right? It's like recruiting a college kid. Not only will he like them, but his parents will like and trust them.
Yeah, and I love Misty. The Rangers did get Darvish. You're right, and after 2011, but it's in just a different system now. That time, the posting system, it was the team who made the highest bid got the right to negotiate, and it was only one team that got to negotiate. That no longer exists. So now it's more like free agency. But again, he can choose and all this, so just get in the room. But one point to make, it was different back then. But he still has to be posted. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And his team
might not
do it.
Yeah.
They may hold on to him until he's 26. That's complete within their rights.
If it makes money, it makes sense.
And like we mentioned when I wrote that story a couple weeks ago, the Oryx Buffaloes held on to Yamamoto until he turned 26 instead of posting him when he would have fallen under the international rules. So instead of getting, like, let's say $2 million for as kind of the posting fee, if you will, the percentage of his contract, they got $50 million.
Right.
So that's a big deal. These teams don't make a ton of money. So we'll see what happens. But I think that I just think that the player will ultimately end up being posted this.
Well, and the only reason, because you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? I would have to think the reason there is he worked something out with them.
Right.
To say, I will sign with you when he signed if I'm going to have this option, right? Because why would a team not wait 3 or 4 more years and make 10, 15, 20 times the money?
Right.
Yeah.
And then Ben's question, when will we know when he can become posted? The posting period starts November 1st through December 5th. So at any time during that point, the decision is made to be posted or not posted. And then from the time he is posted, he has 45 days to sign a contract, or he goes back to Japan. So there you go.
There you go.
Wow.
Well, the Dodgers are 1 win away from their 8th World Series title. It's 2 minutes. I haven't even gotten to the game today. But no, it's a bullpen day for the Dodgers. The last time that they had a bullpen day was the NLCS clincher over the Mets, and pretty good with the 2 out of 3 bullpen games this season were wins, outscoring opponents 21-12. Luis Gil on the mound for the Yankees. The Yankees have been swept before in the World Series, 3 times that it's happened. But it'll be the first sweep since 2012 if it does happen today. You're just hoping this doesn't end in a sweep.
I don't like sweeps.
I don't either,
think you'd like
especially
the
in the World
2012
Series.
sweep. you guys definitely didn't like the 2012
No,
sweep.
not one bit.
Giants, Tigers.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, hopefully we have a little bit more baseball to talk about tomorrow.
Well, we're always going to have a lot more to talk about. Obviously, there's so much to go. And the Hot Stove League officially begins tomorrow if the World Series ends tonight. So, we'll crank that up. I've got wood in the car, and we'll just start feeding that fire,
ready to
man.
go?
We'll be throwing wood on that fire, and we'll get that Hot Stove League going. You can't really see the stove. It's kind of hidden like our...
You just need your Rugged Road cooler to
we
keep in
can.
some
We'll have
stuff.
the cooler here, a little fire burning back here. But, you'll have to cool down because the fire is so hot, so I might have to put a few more beers in here.
Also, it's Tony Tuesday.
Tony
I
Tuesday.
remembered.
Yeah.
Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase after it, then we can catch excellence. What are you chasing today? Let's go. Let's be great. Win your day, Tony Tuesday.
Beautiful. And if you get perfection, good for you, right? Fantastic. We love ending our Tuesday shows with Tony Tuesday. We love spending our Tuesday shows and really every other day of the week shows. We love spending them with you. Thanks for chatting along. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. We see you again tomorrow for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.